Scene 1, take 5, and action. It began with the swelling, growths radiating out from my neck down. Fatigue, anxiety, endless doctor's appointments and tests fruitlessly attempting to identify what was wrong with me. Watching and waiting for months as repeated scans and tests monitored their growth. As a painful mass in my right arm forced me to stop participating in sport, as my concerns, escalating with the glacial pace of gaining insights into my condition, were brushed off. A negative biopsy means it's, paraphrasing my GP here, 90% likely that you don't have cancer. Because young people don't get cancers. Right? My GP, my parents, even I myself, hypochondriac that I was, wrote off the possibility that it could be something serious. However, on a cold August morning in a sterile hospital room, after 9 long months, the diagnosis was confirmed. Hodgkin lymphoma, an aggressive cancer of the blood. All that time, the cancer kept spreading. It was stage 3 by the time treatment began. I faced cancer at 18, and I do so once again at 22, writing these remarks as I once again endured the gauntlet of treatment. Today, on August 10th, the day of the summit, I go in for my second cycle of chemotherapy, before bracing for a stem cell transplant. The relapse is certainly no easier of a journey, but as ridiculous as it sounds, I am comparatively lucky. Per the Commission's own statistics, as of 2024-2025, cancers remain one of the 3 leading causes of death among young people. In contrast, Hodgkin lymphoma remains highly treatable in young people, and the bleeding edge of cancer research continues to improve outcomes and quality of life for patients. I may well get to live as full of a life as most young people will. Can we say as much for every other young person with cancer? Forget cancer. I, by virtue of living in a wealthy major city with a strong and stable support network that allowed me to focus squarely on getting better and having easy access to quality medical care, possess extraordinary privilege. We know too well how our social safety nets have failed those without the means and access that I do. Early diagnosis and intervention remains one of our most important tools in arresting the morbidity and mortality associated with cancers and other chronic or life-limiting illnesses. And that requires equitable access to high-quality primary care services for everyone. And that starts with the general practitioner. The GP, the primary touchpoint for the health concerns of young people, is becoming increasingly difficult to access even within major metro areas as providers strain against rising operational costs and a decline in real value from Medicare reimbursements. Care is delayed until symptoms worsen, with patients often winding up in our emergency departments, subject to long waits, scarce beds, poor continuity of care, and emerging sicker than absolutely necessary. Our state health service shoulders the burden of federal inaction. For us to keep a finger on the pulse, Medicare incentives for bulk bill GP services have to increase to make quality care more widely available. Once you see a GP, that GP must be able to recognize where timely specialist intervention is necessary. GP training must remain up to date on identifying the red flags for potentially serious conditions such as cancers in younger patients in order to escalate appropriately, especially where earlier lines of treatment fail. Maybe it's with the benefit of hindsight, but my idiopathic lymphadenopathy should have garnered more attention and earlier. Those young patients too might not be able to advocate for themselves as I had. The provider then must be their patient's greatest advocate. I understand that there's a tough balance to maintain as a provider in both hearing the concerns of their patients while considering the costs of overtreatment and potentially doing more harm than good. The great number of personal stories of people ignored by their physicians, those respected providers in a position of trust, should remind us of why we are on the side of doing too much. Dangerous assumptions about the health status of our young people harms them, let alone where intersections with disadvantaged populations exist. These interventions tackle systemic challenges to accessing care, But we should also not discount the value in taking agency over our own health. Please don't ignore your body. If you can, please see a doctor that you can trust regularly. Make sure you're screened and protected against preventable diseases. My disease might be rare, but the path is very well trodden. Don't wait until you have to fight for it. Every failure to intervene in preventable adverse health outcomes should rightfully be held up as a failure of the system's ability to protect us. Early diagnosis and treatment should never have to depend on how much money you have or how loudly you're able to advocate for yourself. No young person should ever have to fight the system harder than they fight their own disease.